at Radio Ramadan. We're here today with another beautiful sunny day, and I look forward to spending a good hour with all of you today. If you're doing the school run, then be careful how you're driving and focus and concentrate. That's what you got to do. And those of you who are simply relaxing at home, then pick up the phone and give me a call on 0116 4822 and share with me your weekend, what you were doing, how was the sari, how was the iftar, and how you are getting used to Ramadan. And also, if you don't want to call, then you can always text me on 077-488-55055 if you're listening to Ramadan Radio on 87.9 FM. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Throughout the week, we're going to focus a lot on charities in Leicester and also the homeless sector in the city of Leicester and what we're all doing about it, how we can all contribute to make a difference. That is the focus this week. And on Thursday, we'll be discussing the PCC elections. So do put that in your diary, 5 p.m. on Thursday. And going back to the weekend, we had a fantastic weekend with some excellent shows, some inspiring youngsters. Abdul Sattar, he was 13 when he came here to the radio, and he was not a confident boy. He was struggling to put some words together, but mashallah, at the age of 16 now, he's able to sit here on the mic, and he's an uprising nasheed star in Leicester. So what a story. Very pleased that he came yesterday, and along with him was his young brother, who's only 13 years old, and is also a future star in the making. So when we develop, we capacity build, we encourage these youngsters at an early age, by the time they're 16, they're ready to take on the world, and their social intelligence has been developed, and we have to start these kids very early now. In fact, some of them are more literate on the computers than older people like us. We are not as literate as they are. They are super fast, and they're moving at a very lightning speed, and they're going to embrace the digital technology faster than anybody else. You know, they've got sponges in the brain that absorb all the wonderful, intelligent digital technology more than we ever did. And it's very important. So we also had Nabila Patel, and she's another aspiring youngster, and it was so pleasing to see that we got all these youngsters that we have been developing, and they're coming along really well, and these are the youngsters who are going to shape our society tomorrow. They're going to make a better future for us, for all of us in the community tomorrow. And the usual incidents here we have on Evington Road, where people are not respecting the social distance, they're not taking care, they're not wearing their masks. And look at me, I'm wearing a white mask today to match with my shirt. So my producer tells me, you've got to wear all your masks to match the shirt that you're wearing. And he's gone and got me a white mask today to wear. And I'm kind of getting used to it. So we have to mask up as part of our life now. And as soon as we let our guard down, then we have a problem. And we discussed on Saturday, vaccines, which one? Pfizer, Astra, which one to take? And we had a doctor. She explained to us all the different vaccines and what the difference is. A little bit too technical, but we're going to make it more easier next time so that everybody can understand which is the which is the vaccine, that what is the difference between the vaccines and why the first one and why the second one. And she absolutely made it clear that the vaccine is not a complete solution, it's part of the solution, it's a preventive measure. It will avoid you going to the hospital, and you still can be catching COVID, and you'll have to stay at home and relax, and you'll get over it. It'll be like the new flu. There's a new sheriff in town called COVID, and you know, you're going to get used to a new norm. But at least life, some normality will begin again. The shops will open. We'll start our normal day-to-day functions that we have been missing during COVID. Right, so a lot of impact analysis here that we've been discussing last week about number of people who've lost their jobs, the impact on young people, and impact everywhere. And we really need to learn so much more. And so much good work has been done, brothers and sisters, during this pandemic. A lot of people have come out, they've stepped the game, they've been doing things what they would not have been doing normally. So sometimes when you're in adversity, you get the skates on. That's what you got to do. You got to get the skates on, be positive, and move forward and make a difference. That's what you have to do. Get your skates on. And yesterday, we also had the riders on the radio, the riders of Sham. And those of you who don't know, these young guys have been going around Europe on bicycle rides. They're not a charity. They are a local dynamic fundraising team in Leicester. And talking to them yesterday, I was so pleased to learn that they have diversity amongst the riders. They have people from different countries who are taking part in this initiative. So this year they are going to take a ride to Edinburgh. And they're not going to Europe, they're going to go from Leicester to Edinburgh. And they raise a substantial amount of money each year. And then what they do is then they distribute it among other charities who then forward it to respective wonderful projects. And riders, I'm sure there are many other fundraisers in the city. We need to engage with all of them. So if you know anybody who has done some fundraising, please let us know. Contact us at the radio. Let us know on 077 488 55055, because you really need to network with all of these guys who are doing wonderful work in the city so that we can give them a shout and also contact them to see how we can all work together and make a difference, because there are some wonderful initiatives in the city of Leicester that we need to support with as much time as we can. Sometimes if you don't have funds, you can always devote your time. And all of you listening in right now, I will always urge you to get your children involved with a charity in Leicester. Connect them with a charity which they think, well, I'll be a good fit here, I can do some good work here. Any charity you engage your young child with will reap a lot of benefits. Your child is going to develop his social skills, is going to see some awareness, and don't allow your child to be wasting his energies on games at home, on a laptop or on a PC or on his mobile. That will not produce any results for you whatsoever. So talking about mobile phones, let me talk to you about the power of a mobile phone. What does a mobile phone do to our lives? Well, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm going to talk to you today about Saturday. What happened to me on Saturday? My feet were talking to my knees were talking to my thighs, then my stomach got involved in the whole scenario, and the next thing, my stomach is talking to my brain. And what was all that about? Because I had lost my mobile and everything went upside down. I was my companion, my contacts, my numbers. I was with the gentleman in his car, and I'm thinking, I must have dropped it in his car. And me and my son, we're looking for it everywhere, we can't find it, and my son says, ring him. I says, I don't have his number. His number is in my mobile. What, do you know anyone else who's got his number? I said, yeah, I do know someone, but his number is also in my mobile. So you can see anxiety, then you can see the first seed planted, which is called a first bout of depression. Now, my body is all over the place. I'm shaking. I'm looking everywhere. Not once, twice, 3 times. And then the story doesn't end there. I said, right, I'm going to live without a mobile until I get another mobile. I want to see what life used to be like. And I was getting ready, adapting to change without a mobile. I come here to the studio, and our studio manager, he says, somebody's stolen my keys. The keys to the studio, I can't find anywhere. At that point, I says, right, it's time to take a day off, get back down the stairs, in the car, go home and sleep. You know, keys are gone, mobile is gone. What do we do? You lost your mobile, he's lost his keys. What's happening? What's this all about? You know, so your key and your mobile, these two are part of your life. They are your companions. You lose your keys, you have anxiety. So you're going to share me your experience also. What happened to you when you lost your mobile? What did you go through the same thing as I did? The feet, the knees, the stomach, the head, the brain, everything connecting with each other and the body is shaking like you're dancing. But it's not a dance of happiness at all. It's one of those dances where all kind of things are happening in your body. Your body inside is just rocking. And that's what happens. So don't lose your keys, don't lose your mobile. Your keys, tie them around to your waist so that they don't get lost, right? Luckily, this good part of this story was that the key had left the keychain and embedded itself at the bottom part of his pocket, a part that he never visits, right in the corner. You know, in the pockets, in your pocket, if you put your hand in your pocket, you'll go to a corner right there on the right-hand side. Nobody goes there because it's very deep down in the corner. And the key had gone and embedded itself there. And that's what happened. And he then found the key, and I saw a big smile on his face. A smile of happiness, as if he had just something amazing had happened that he had seen, and he was so happy. Then when he opened the door, you will not believe it. He opened the door, and there was my mobile on charge in his studio, because the C charger is there in his studio. And when I looked at it, I was not sure whether I was happy, I was excited, or I was happy to see the mobile. And that moment I spent of my life without my mobile, I was happy. Nobody was phoning me. I had no reason to phone anybody or change my routine. And I says, okay, let's get used to this. And then we had 12 hours without a mobile, and then the mobile was back on the scene. As if you are zooming away, you can see on my table. So the moral of the story is, what would you do without your mobile today? Your mobile is your companion, and what will you do? A day without mobile detox. So in the studio today, I have Mr. Chris Richards, and he's been attentively listening to my story, and no doubt he's also had a mobile experience in his life, which he's going to talk to us about. And Chris, good morning to you. Welcome to Radio Ramadan.
Morning, Zed. Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me.
Of course, Chris, it's a month of Ramadan. It's a month of blessings, and we're here to engage with all different parts of the community. And we're here also to learn about how many different people we have in the community from different parts of the world. We had last week, we learned about Bangladesh community, we learned about the Sri Lankan community, we learned about the Indian community, and we're all immigrants, aren't we, really? We have our DNA stretching all over, and nobody has a clue. Where are you from, you know?
True.
And often they ask you that question, Chris, at the airport. I say, I'm from Britain. They'll say, where are you from originally? I said, I'm from Leicester. No, I mean, where is your mother and father from? Where are you from? I said, I am from my mother. Where are you from? And then you start, it's a question that's asked everywhere at every airport. Do you often have that problem, Chris?
No. But then I'm sort of part French and part Welsh. So, I mean, what is British? I mean, we've always been a right hodgepodge. We've always been a Heinz 57. You know, we've always been, a right mixture of races, you know. So, yeah, I think it's good, you know, mix it up, mix up the gene pool, get things going, you know. I think it can only bring benefits.
So, Chris, we've got some tremendous diversity in our city, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
At this time. And
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good
thing. So, as way back as I can remember, when we came to this country, the dynamics have changed every 10 years. So from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, So, Chris, this week we are focusing on all the charities and all the good work individuals are doing in the city, all the good work people did during COVID, and we need to reflect upon this 1 year of our lives that we have lost due to COVID. It's something that never happened before in the world. This is the first time. We have had pandemics before, but nothing of this stature.
True.
And it has been very sad part of our history, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a legacy that will be talked about in another 100 years.
Yeah.
And how did we all adapt to this, Chris? You yourself have been involved in the charity sector, haven't you?
I have, yes.
So if you could, if you talk to our listeners about exactly what you do and which organization that you are affiliated to do, and then they can also be inspired by some of the work that you do, Chris.
Yep, thanks. Well, again, thank you very much for inviting me. I can't believe it's a year since I was last on the radio with you. And it's strange you talking about stress and anxiety, because that's what a lot of our people have felt over the past year. Just to remind everybody, we are a charity based in Leicester, and we help autistic young adults find either employment, further education, or meaningful volunteering experiences. So that's what we're doing. Now, what's the size of the problem? In Leicester, and these are the latest figures, in Leicester and Leicestershire alone, there's 14,000 autistic kids. Yeah. Now, the COVID lockdown situation has been hard for a lot of people. For me, honestly, it's been a cloud with a silver lining. It has allowed us to step back, review on what we're doing, realign, and get things right so that now we're ready to move forward again. What we've been able to do is we've been able to design and develop a tracking pathway so we know exactly where these people are coming from. These kids are referred to us either from social services or from Department of Works and Pensions, word of mouth, and our social media. We then fill out a simple form with these kids to get some information. We then pass them over to a volunteer who then interviews them more intensely. We also set up a tracking system. Now, that's a simple little form. It's 8 questions that they fill in every week. And then we can see whether these people are going up, going down, in what areas of their life they're going up or going down. And as you mentioned about stress and anxiety at the moment is absolutely sky high amongst these kids. And the frightening statistic coming out of the United States is that over 25% of under 24-year-olds have considered committing suicide during this lockdown period. I mean, that is a frightening statistic and, frightening implications for these kids. And we ourselves are seeing that now. We're seeing almost like a tsunami of mental health issues coming our way. And I have a horrible feeling this is going to take 5, maybe even 10 years for this to completely play out. And, okay, it's been a hard year, but we are there to support these people and try and get them back on the right track. So as I say, we're tracking them, we know what they're doing, we now have the evidence, we're getting hard evidence that we can then go back to city councils and county councils and saying, this is what we're doing, these are the statistics, we need help. And hopefully they will then start sending people with funding to help us with our sustainability and our delivery plan. So that's what we're doing in Leicester.
So this is quite a challenge because when you're talking about the councils, they have all their funds are extremely depleted due to COVID, and they're looking for more funding from the national government to then fund these kind of causes, much needed funds throughout the community. So yours is just one of the organizations, but there are so many other organizations who are likewise looking for respective funding on there.
Yeah, but funding is coming from central government. Central government have already promised that mental health and employability will be funded. And this is exactly the area that we're in. Now, I mean, if you look at it, autism costs this country £32 billion a year. It is the single most expensive medical condition in this country. And I was on a webinar with Sir Simon Baron-Cohen last week. He's the professor of psychology from Cambridge University. And he was suggesting that maybe autism is necessary for invention. You look at famous autistics, there was Edison. I mean, who else would take 999 attempts to make a light bulb before eventually he succeeded? Yeah, that requires real concentration and, almost like sort of, I don't know, what would you call it, determination to really make something work.
I did not know that he was autistic.
Yeah, Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, and then you got people like Sir Anthony Hopkins, you know, the actor from Silence of the Lambs and other things that he's done. So it's not only just in the field of science and technology, but the University of Cambridge did a survey, and they surveyed people in 3 towns in Holland. They chose Eindhoven, which is where Philips are. Now, Philips are a very innovative company. Yeah, Philips Electronics, they make all sorts of, electronic components and devices. They compared people in Eindhoven with people in Haarlem and Maastricht, I think was the other town. And there were twice as many autistic people in Eindhoven. So autism and creativity go hand in hand. And it used to be that 75% of autistics had learning difficulties. The latest research coming out shows that 75% of autistics do not have learning difficulties. They just have difficulties maybe interacting with people and therefore do not manage to get through the traditional interview process when they're looking for a job. The problem with that is the companies are therefore turning away all this undiscovered and wasted talent. And something else we're doing is we're rolling out 3 separate CPD accredited courses to educate companies as to why they should be taking our people. Because we think there's a wealth, well, we don't think, we know there is a wealth of undiscovered and untapped talent out there.
Of course, these are huge challenges, and to bring awareness to this to the wider public is absolutely important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So today, here on Radio Ramadan, we really would like to connect with all of you listening in right now, the importance of knowing about this just one sector in our community, autism, as to how it affects the wider community. Yeah. And what the wider community can actually do to contribute to assisting is something we all have to be part of that journey, right? In order to create solutions, we all have to take part of this journey to bring about change, much needed change. And we cannot simply rely on the council and the county council. We need to step up our game and say, right, I'm also going to get involved and work with people like Chris and make a difference, because no number of people who come on board are enough, because people are going to come and go depending on their personal situations. So we're going to pick up everything that Chris has talked about after a short break. We're going to continue to find some solutions and get more people involved. So don't go away. We'll see you soon. Thank you. barakatuhu. We are back in action for our second session here on Radio Ramadan. Beautiful day today, Monday. All of you who are driving to work or you are at work, you've got a nice sunny day today. And it's very energetic, when you see sun is shining like that. You're listening to Ramadan Radio on 87.9 FM. If you want to call in, please do so on 011-648-22086, or you can simply send us a text or a WhatsApp on 0774-8855-055. So that is where you can reach us. Today we have in the studio with us Mr. Chris Richards. And Chris, again, remind the listeners the organization that you work with.
Yeah, we work with BEC. It's a Leicester-based charity, and we find work or identify further educational needs or meaningful volunteering opportunities for those on the autistic spectrum.
Of course, now you went through the figures earlier on. You said that in the city of Leicester, there are almost 14,000 autistic...
That's in Leicester and Leicestershire. In Leicester alone, it's nearly 7,000 and then 14,000 together.
Total, between the city and the county.
Yeah, 14,000.
And that is just city and county, but what about countrywide? What are the stats countrywide?
Oh, Lord, right. There's probably about 1.5 million countrywide, yeah? 67 million population in this country, about 1.5 million. And those are the latest figures. They came out, in fact, last month. The trouble is we've been working on very outdated figures, but again, COVID has given people a chance to step back, realign, and re-examine what they're doing. And so this has given people a chance to get statistics out there. And so we have very up-to-date statistics now, which is very good. But I mean, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate people to promote understanding and therefore acceptance that autism is something that really is possibly a special ability, and people and companies should be prepared to take advantage of this and push things forward. I was talking about the situation in Holland and Eindhoven having twice as many autistic people, and autism being possibly necessary as like the mother of invention, which is very interesting. Now, also, you were talking about the diversity in Leicester. Now, another interesting statistic that has come up is that in BME communities, autism is 30% higher than in the other communities, the traditional white
What is the reason for that, Chris?
Haven't a clue.
You haven't a clue?
I haven't a clue.
Well, that's a fair and good and honest answer, Chris. So
Now,
that's something we need to look into, isn't it?
Something that, again, has come up only in the last month or so is that now autism has got a proven genetic link. Yeah? So there could be something in that, but really, I know nobody has an idea as to why there is that difference. The problem is, though, particularly within BME communities, it's even worse supported than it is amongst the white communities. There's possibly a cultural issue. Parents don't like to admit that maybe there is something a little bit out of the ordinary with their child, but that out of the ordinary could be a special ability and something that really could be nurtured and encouraged and worked on. It's certainly nothing to be ashamed of, and as I say, it could be the necessary ingredient for invention, and so they could be an absolute genius in the making there. So approach people like ourselves, people who know a little bit about autism, that can help. And the thing is, we are now beginning to get the hard statistics to show that what we are doing does help. We have taken our initial cohort of people, and this has all had to be done virtually now because we can't meet in person. So we have 26 people already on our course. 2 of them have already got into work, 4 of them have already got into education, and another 8 are on our 12-week employability program. That is 6 weeks of personal development, teaching them how to come to terms with their condition, because if you look at the way autistic people react to circumstances, it tends to be a very sort of spiky profile. They can be very inventive, they can be very depressed, they can be very happy, they can be very sad. There doesn't tend to be the middle ground. And our personal development course aims to try and even that out a bit so that it becomes a little bit more socially acceptable. But then you look at people like Steve Jobs, who was the founder of Apple. I mean, he was notoriously difficult to work with, but what a genius. I mean, look what he's brought to the world. And, it's these sort of traits that we need to understand through education and so promote acceptance.
So, of course, we need a lot of people involved to make a difference. Today we are just talking about autism, and there are also many other sectors that also need a similar kind of help and support, and in this mental depression you mentioned earlier on, that health and well-being is become absolutely a must, and autism and health and well-being is a huge issue in the community. These are just 2 sectors. And
I mean,
autism, do they also in any kid who's or adult, young adult, and their mental well-being is also a big issue during COVID, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And how do you reach out to them then? What is your mechanism to reach out to them?
Well, this is it at the moment. It's social media, services like yours. It's basically getting the word out to the public that here we are, we can possibly help. Now, not only can we help people, but we also need volunteers to help us. Because as you say, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
But these volunteers then, they will have to have some special skills and training, won't they? Do you provide that?
We do all that, yes. We will provide training.
Now, what about the DBS check as well? They would need that as well, won't they?
Yes, we do. To be honest, I don't know whether we need a DBS check if we're going to do it virtually. Definitely if we meet in person, then we need a DBS check. But I don't know about virtually. Unless you
but this is it something difficult to do it virtually, or do you have to have one-to-one?
No, we've had a lot of success doing this virtually. Everything has had to be done virtually at the moment.
Of course, in the last year during COVID,
yes,
the whole pattern of work has changed.
Yeah. But another statistic I want to just mention while we're at it is that loneliness can be as physically dangerous to your health or as physically harming to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which I thought was a very surprising statistic. But loneliness, as a result of the pandemic, will have an effect on people's health, and particularly, on their mental health. And this is also something that we're trying to raise people's awareness of and show that by getting involved with us, even as a volunteer, you will get a sense of purpose, you will get a sense of contact, you'll be able to have, it'll overcome the loneliness.
Of course, when you look across the world and you go to the third world, and we had a charity here on Saturday called Lonely Orphans. Mm-hmm. And you talk about loneliness today, and if you reflect upon an orphan who at 3 or 4 year old is discarded on the streets, and in the third world, and these are the children that this charity is reaching out to. They're based in London, Lonely Orphans, and it was absolutely astonishing to watch some of their videos, hear some of their stories on Saturday, and you think, Chris, how blessed we are here in Leicester, in England, that we could quite easily have been on the other side of that world and going through this kind of situation where we physically have to see this every day. The poverty-stricken children, who are sold into slavery and who are abused, and is so heartbreaking, to see these stories. And these young lads, they're so committed to this work that they're doing across many countries in the third world. And what makes me happy, Chris, is when I see a lot of young people get involved. And they do all the running around, and they're so committed and so dedicated. These are special people in the community, aren't they?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And these are the guys that are the champions of the community that make a difference.
Yeah.
Not only in England, but they reach out to across the continent. They go to these third world countries, and they're so dedicated and committed. And to spend time with them on Saturday listening to their stories was absolutely heartwarming, Chris.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely wonderful work, and it just reminds me of a problem that I had last week actually with one of our clients. She's a 17-year-old girl, autistic, suffers from anxiety and depression, and as I say, loneliness is a big problem, and as a result of that, she sort of went on social media. She has been befriended by 3 boys, all in separate countries. One's in Canada, one's in Sweden, and one is somewhere else, I don't exactly know where. These boys won't turn their cameras on because they claim it's too expensive, which immediately starts ringing bells. Are they boys or are they men? Is this girl being groomed? So these are all things that are sort of suddenly going through our minds. So we have to be very aware that these autistic people, even though they may be lonely, even though they may be anxious and depressed, they're also very vulnerable. And safeguarding, obviously, comes to fore there. And we have to look after these people. And we have to raise people's awareness of what is going on out there and be careful.
Of course, this is absolutely unbelievable that even somebody would want to be doing this kind of evil acts on the social media.
Unfortunately,
and
a young girl like that is worth money to these people. It's very sad.
In this field, these kids are also prone to social media, so everybody who is now using the social media for their avenue of escape, aren't they? And it's an addiction. Yeah. It starts off as a habit, and that as a habit develops, it becomes an addiction, right? Where you.
Do you mean, Zed, you start getting the shakes when you lose your phone?
Yeah, it's an addiction. The phone is an addiction.
Yeah.
And I can really. Personally, I'm not addicted to social media. What about you, Chris?
No, I hate it. I hate it with a vengeance.
No, do you think it's like an older person thing, or is it young people are addicted to it?
I don't know. Very early on, about the turn of the century, I joined Facebook. I was probably one of the first people to join Facebook, and very quickly got stalked by somebody. So I very quickly went off social media after that, and I'm very, very aware of what I post now. I don't post anything personal. You just got to be very, very careful. And kids posting things these days, in 3 or 4 years' time, when they go looking for a job, and the company starts researching them on social media, things could come back to bite them. So again, be very careful, be aware of what you're posting, be careful out there.
Yeah, of course. This is for everybody. I think Nabila Patel, she did the program on Sunday about the perils of social media amongst young people. Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely the case, that we all have to be wary and all have to be reminding our children, and the children as young as 4 and 5, they know how to find a way around social media and all the various different platforms that you and I know about, Chris. And this is very, very important. And even autistic children or young adults or grown-up adults, they also use that as an avenue of escape, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. But I'm also involved with another charity in Leicester, and they're just getting going. They're called Ekiam UK, and they are helping particularly BME youngsters try and find a happy medium and try and get away from gangs and grooming and knives and weapons and this type of stuff that that goes on these days, and kids as young as 11 are carrying weapons. I mean, this is not good. We've got to get away from this, and this is what Ekiam UK is doing, and they should be making sort of headway, I think, towards the middle end of this year. We're just getting going. We've got collaboration from the police. We've got collaboration from the lottery. We're going to start pushing this forward in a big way, and BEC will be helping with that as well, because there's a lot of areas where our paths cross.
Of course, we talked about empty spaces last year, empty buildings that are now we are attempting to use them effectively.
Yep.
But also, how important is it that we have green spaces so these children and young adults that you are working with have access to these green spaces? Today, you go to a green space, we call it a park, the councils have invested in putting some fitness equipment there. And if collectively these groups that you're working with, they had accessibility in their vicinities, it's difficult to get across the other side of the city, it would be very good, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely essential that we have these green spaces. The problem is COVID, if you take it as an example, spreads in a close community. Now, if you get people out in the fresh air, COVID just does not spread as easily. It's, when you're all together in one house or in a room or in a building, that is where COVID can be passed very effectively. Get them outside, get them in the fresh air, no problem. The other thing is we need to get people out in what little sunshine we have, although we have got a beautiful day today. We need to get people out in the sunshine, because sunshine produces vitamin D, which counteracts against osteoporosis. Now, osteoporosis is a big problem. Girls as young as their 30s are beginning to get osteoporosis. What are they going to be like in their 50s? And so, getting out half an hour sunshine a day is what you need. And everybody should be out there getting some sunshine, getting some fresh air, getting some exercise. And again, overcoming, the things that they're looking at sort of emphasising in schools these days, things like smoking cessation, obesity, unwanted pregnancy, and mental health. Now, getting outside in green spaces, that will help with all of these things.
So it's very important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
To get all the organizations to use these spaces, because these spaces, these green spaces, are not just for you to take your dog for a walk and use them as a dog's toilet. And then often you go there to these green spaces, and I've seen in the parks in Leicester that this is it's kind of the people who are not dog owners, then they get put off, don't they?
Absolutely.
And we need to use them more effectively than we ever have done before. To really adapt to health and well-being. Green spaces are very important for your health and well-being, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But as I mentioned, we're getting involved with this other charity, Ekiam UK. We want to get involved with as many other charities as possible. As you mentioned earlier, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. So we need collaboration, we need cooperation. We need to get over this bunker mentality that unfortunately some organisations do have. We all need to work together. There are so many instances where our paths will cross. You look at autism alone. Autism is becoming more of an umbrella diagnosis, and so things like ADHD and dyslexia and all sorts of other things all exist under that umbrella of autism. And so we could collaborate and cooperate with a whole load of other charities. I cooperate and collaborate with a lot of mental health charities as well in Leicester, because we help with depression and anxiety as well there.
So really, if you're all listening in at home, you can freely Google to find out how many charities there are in Leicester, throughout the city, throughout the county, and the number you will find are astonishing. And if you break them down into different sectors, which sector they are specializing in, then you can make a decision that I'm going to work with this charity, I'm going to work with that charity. And if you do it as a family, the benefits are immense. The benefits are immense. And if you want to bring change in the community, you can do the DTC, drive the change in your community. If you step up, get involved in the process, become part of the solution, you'll have a lot of benefits. You've got to become part of the solution and effect change. Now, today I've talked to Chris about green spaces, how we can use them effectively. So all these autistic children, if the groups are all coming together and using the green spaces, is a therapeutic, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And last year, I remember we also talked about music therapy, how that has made a huge impact and difference.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that really has been you need to get people to come together to make that music, and that, of course, has been impossible during the pandemic. I'm hoping now, with restrictions being lifted, then we could get back to things like music therapy, drumming therapy, and things like that. And there's a property in Leicester that we're looking at to try and roll that type of therapy out.
So there is, your hands are full, you have a lot of, a list of things to do on your agenda, and we hope that we'll get out of this now and actively you'll be back using your premises in an effective manner to move forward. And this is a benefit to everybody in the community, isn't it?
Yeah. Could I just ask that if anybody wants to contact me and get more details, I'd be only too happy to talk to them. Maybe they could contact me through Ramadan Radio. I'm sure you could pass messages on or emails or whatever.
Of course, we can do that. So all of you listening in right now, Chris Richards here, he's very actively involved with the autism. And if you have children at home that need support, that need assistance from Chris and his group, and some of the other charities that he's affiliated with, he's much too glad to help you all. You can contact us at the radio, and we can signpost yourself to Chris Richards and his team in the city of Leicester, right?
And we need volunteers as well.
Of course, and that goes without saying. We're going to be pushing all week for volunteers to get involved in all the different charities in Leicester. So we have our telephone number here is 0116 4822 If you care to call in and talk to our producer here, he'll be glad to help you. And our mobile and WhatsApp number is 0774 8855 So do contact us. Let's all do this together. If we're going to make a difference, Chris, we've got to band together, haven't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we'll see huge benefits out of this, Chris.
Bring the community together again, because we've all been in our own little bunkers for the last year. We need to bring the community together again. We need to rebuild communities.
So I cannot stress enough the value, the benefits for all of us in this sector of charity. We all must be able to take some time out. Our time is our most precious element in our society. Your time. That is what it takes. Give time to each other. Give time to your local charity that you want to support. And how many hours a week we're going to spend doing that? I tell everybody, spend an hour a day exercising.
Yep.
That's a benefit to your health and well-being, right? But spend at least 2 or 3 hours a week in supporting a local charity.
Yes, please.
They cannot survive without support, can they, Chris?
Exactly. Yeah.
So they need financial support, and all the charities are filling in all the bids to get as much support as they can. And later on in the week, we're going to be touching upon finding more effective solutions for the charities, whereby each charity can step up with the local business who can have it as part of their system, that they're going to support this charity every year.
Yep.
And make a difference. And then the charities are the ones who are on the front line doing all the work. Or not only the charities, but the community groups, the fundraising teams, they get absolutely inspired when they know that there's an army of people supporting them in the work that they're doing.
Wonderful.
So if you can't do the work yourself, at least support those that are doing that work. And in this month of Ramadan, Chris, we have to push forward with this way of thinking.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd just like to thank you and Ramadan Radio for giving me the opportunity to get this message out again. As I say, it's very important, but, you know.
Okay, great. Tomorrow, guys, we're going to be wrapping up this program today, and tomorrow we're going to be with the Action Homeless. They are another excellent charity who are doing a lot of work in Leicester, and we're going to join with them tomorrow and talk to them. So thank you very much for listening. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.